Pakistan launches strikes on Afghanistan. Calls the strikes a retributive response. Afghanistan promises appropriate and measured response. After dozens killed in deadly cross-border strikes, what is the aftermath of Pakistan's airstrikes in Afghanistan?
Hello and welcome to NewsX Explained with me, Vineet Malhotra, where today we look at a serious and fast escalating situation along one of the most volatile borders in the world, the Pakistan-Afghanistan frontier. In the early hours of the 22nd of February, the Pakistani military carried out airstrikes inside eastern Afghanistan. Islamabad states that it targeted terrorists. Kabul asserts that civilians have been killed. And the narratives may be conflicting, but one thing is imminently clear. The already persistent tensions between the two neighbors have sharply escalated. Pakistan launched the airstrikes in Afghanistan's eastern provinces, primarily Nangarhar and Paktika, areas that sit close to the porous and heavily militarized border between the two countries. Nangarhar sits less than 20 kilometers from the Pakistan border and holds an estimated population of 1.8 million people. Meanwhile, Paktika is a border province with major locations adjacent to Pakistan. According to a statement by Pakistan's Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, their military conducted intelligence-based selective operations against 7 of what it labeled terrorist hideouts and training facilities. Pakistan has stated that the camps belong to the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan and the ISKP. But Afghanistan tells a different story. The Taliban government asserts that the strikes targeted multiple civilian homes and a religious school. Afghanistan states that the airstrikes resulted in dozens of deaths and injuries, including women and children. News reports from the site state that at least 17 people were confirmed killed and 6 others are missing, feared trapped under the rubble of an attacked house in Nangarhar. A religious center was also reportedly hit. An unknown number of casualties occurred there as well. An Afghan police spokesperson was quoted as saying that civilians were killed. In one house, there were 23 family members. 4 wounded people were taken out. Estimates from Afghanistan place the casualties at over 30 people killed and several dozen more reported injured. Now, this did not happen in isolation. Over the past several weeks, Pakistan has seen a spike in deadly attacks, particularly in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan. The TTP has stepped up operations with Pakistani security officials pinning the blame on terrorists who they say cross over from Afghan soil, carrying out attacks and retreating back across the border. Just days before these strikes, a suicide bombing in Pakistan's northwest reportedly killed Pakistani security personnel, including a senior officer. Earlier incidents targeted checkpoints and convoys. Islamabad says it has repeatedly asked Kabul to rein in TTP fighters operating from Afghan territory. Kabul has denied harboring them. Now, the Pakistani ministry said it had conclusive evidence that recent attacks in Islamabad, as well as in the northwestern Bajaur and Bannu districts, were perpetrated by fighters at the behest of their Afghanistan-based leadership and handlers. Meanwhile, Afghanistan has warned that it won't let the strikes go unanswered. The Afghan Defense Ministry lashed out strongly, saying it will deliver an appropriate and calculated response. The core issue here becomes Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, the TTP. Pakistan accuses Afghanistan's Taliban rulers of either being unwilling or unable to dismantle TTP sanctuaries. The Afghan Taliban government said that Pakistan is shifting blame for its own internal security failures. And so we are here with airstrikes across an international border. This is not the first time Pakistan has carried out cross-border operations in Afghanistan. In 2024, Pakistan launched airstrikes in eastern Afghanistan after a surge in TTP attacks. Afghan authorities said between 15 and 40 civilians were killed, even as Pakistan maintained it struck terror targets. The Pakistan Air Force carried out airstrikes in Afghanistan's eastern border provinces of Khost and Paktika. The Afghan government stated that the strikes killed 5 women and 3 children. An Afghan media outlet citing local sources also reported the deaths of 8 individuals. The fallout was immediate. diplomatic protests, border closures, and military mobilization along the frontier. In response, Afghanistan's Ministry of Defense stated that its forces had targeted Pakistani positions across the border. Mortar fire from the Afghan side reportedly killed a Pakistani army captain and soldiers. Then in 2025, artillery exchanges and similar cross-border operations were reported again. Tensions flared repeatedly along the disputed Durand line. On 3rd January, a projectile from Pakistan targeted Taliban urban positions in Alisher area of Khost province. Then in the early hours of the 9th of October 2025, Pakistan carried out airstrikes in Kabul, Khost, Jalalabad and Paktika in an operation that it codenamed Operation Khyber Storm. The Afghan Taliban responded by launching an attack on Pakistani military posts along the Afghanistan-Pakistan border. Following the attack, the Taliban's Ministry of Defense announced the conclusion of their operation. However, Pakistani officials rejected the Taliban ceasefire declaration and continued their offensive, which was confirmed by a Taliban spokesman, noting that clashes persisted into the morning of 12th of October. On the same day, reports emerged of Pakistani drone airstrikes in Kandahar and Helmand provinces, killing 19 Taliban fighters, though these casualties were not confirmed by Taliban officials. Both sides claim to have inflicted heavy losses on each other. Heavy fighting resumed on the 15th of October, with both sides accusing the other of initiating the violence. The back and forth continued until the 19th of October, when Qatar announced that Afghanistan and Pakistan had agreed to a ceasefire, an uneasy truce that has barely held on since then. Following the announcement of the ceasefire, the United Nations Assistance Mission in Afghanistan disclosed that 37 civilians had died and 425 others had been injured due to cross-border violence in Afghanistan. Each episode follows a similar pattern: a terror attack in Pakistan, Islamabad blames Afghan-based groups, Pakistan strikes across the border, Kabul condemns civilian casualties, and the cycle continues. So why is this stretch so volatile? Well, the Pakistan-Afghanistan border runs roughly 2,600 kilometers. Much of it is mountainous, rugged, and difficult to monitor. The Durand line, drawn during British colonial rule, is not formally recognized by Afghanistan. That historical dispute adds a layer of mistrust. Add to that terror networks operating on both sides, tribal linkages across the border, and weak state control in remote regions. The result? A flashpoint that can ignite quickly. This is not just about two neighbors arguing. The region matters globally. Afghanistan is still diplomatically isolated. Pakistan is battling an internal insurgency. Both economies are fragile. Any sustained conflict would destabilize an already volatile region. International actors are watching closely because escalation could mean more cross-border retaliation, refugee flows, increased terror recruitment, and greater instability across South Asia. The most troubling part of this victory or this story is the civilian toll. Whenever air power is used in populated or semi-populated areas, the risk of collateral damage rises. Afghan officials claim families were buried under rubble. Pakistan insists it used precision intelligence. The truth is difficult to independently verify because access to the strike sites is restricted. But history shows that in such cross-border operations, civilians often suffer the consequences of terror safe havens and military responses alike. So here was what we know tonight. Pakistan struck inside Afghanistan. Afghanistan said civilians were killed. Pakistan said terrorists were targeted. Tensions are high and the border remains volatile. This is not just a military story, it's a story of mistrust, unresolved insurgency, fragile diplomacy, and civilians caught in between. If de-escalation does not happen soon, this could spiral into a deeper regional crisis. And as always, in conflicts like this, the people living along the border will pay the heaviest and highest price.
Pakistan launches strikes on Afghanistan. Calls the strikes a retributive response. Afghanistan promises appropriate and measured response. After dozens killed in deadly cross-border strikes, what is the aftermath of Pakistan's airstrikes in Afghanistan?